The dead internet theory is the idea that most of what we see on the internet and social media is just content that's been created by bots rather than humans. I don't know how true this is, but I think there is some merit to the idea because it's really simple to create a simple script with basic programming knowledge that utilizes tools like large language models, such as ChatGPT, for example, to generate a post or a comment that looks like a human made it. Right now, legislation and social media policies haven't caught up with these new technologies and haven't put in enough effort into mitigating its effects. It's so easy that I'll be showing you how to do it so that you can also contribute to the dead internet theory. And, hopefully social media companies start taking notice and take more action against it. By the end of this video, we'll have a Python script that takes in the most recent Reddit post from a given subreddit and leaves a comment that has been generated by a large language model. So I'm going to be using Python version 3.11 for this, so just make sure you have that on your computer. I'm also going to be using Linux, but with some changes you can make it work on whatever operating system you're using. I'm just using Linux because it's a lot easier to work on this machine learning stuff because it's so well supported by the community. You're going to need access to the Reddit API, and it's super straightforward to get access. You just go onto the API page and you click Create Credentials here so that you can get a client ID and a client secret that'll be used by the Python script. So once you generate that, save it somewhere so that we can use it later. We're also going to need to download a tool called Ollama. Ollama is like a wrapper for a bunch of large language models that makes it really easy to use so that you don't have to train your own model. Ollama has a bunch of supported LLMs, so you can pretty much use any of the ones that are listed on the site. For this video, I'm going to be using Llama 2 uncensored, but I'll make sure to make the Python script generic enough so that it can be used with any other model. So once you have Ollama installed, you can verify that it works by running Ollama in your terminal, and you should be able to see that it is actually installed. So you're going to need to pull down one of the models of your choice that I had shown earlier. In this case, I'm using Llama 2 uncensored, and I've already installed it. So to test that it works, I'm going to be doing Ollama run with my model name. So in this case, it's Llama 2 uncensored. So now you can chat with it. So let's say, pretend you're a pirate. How's your day going? And so now it responds as if it's a pirate. So let me say, translate that to Spanish or something. And it does it. So you might be wondering, why don't we just use the ChatGPT API? And the reason for that is because when you're using the ChatGPT API, you're actually paying per request you send because you're using their computing resources to do all the complex matrix multiplication that's required to generate text. When you use Ollama, you're using your computer's GPU and its CPU so that it can generate the text for you. Because it's all done locally, it's completely free. It just means that you need to have a computer that's capable of doing that. And pretty much most modern GPUs should be able to handle it. If you don't have a great GPU, you can still do this with the CPU. It's just going to take a lot longer to render the text. So now that we have Ollama installed locally, we can begin working on the script. So like I mentioned earlier, I want to make the script sort of generic so that we can use different models with it. So what I'm doing now is I added some code so that we can extract the command line arguments passed in from when the script gets called so that we can read in the model that the user wants to use, the subreddit that they want to interact with, and then the prompt to give to the model. So to do that, I just imported the sys package so that I can get command line args 1, 2, and 3. And now we can move on to Reddit authentication. So now I've imported the prop package as well as OS. PRA stands for Python Reddit API wrapper, and it's what we're going to be using so that we can fetch data from Reddit as well as post data to Reddit. So to do that, we're going to be initializing PRA with the .reddit function, and it's expecting the client ID and the client secret that we had generated earlier from the Reddit API page. We also need to give it our Reddit username and our Reddit password, and then a user agent string just to describe what exactly is being used. The user agent string doesn't really matter, but Reddit may use it to look at the metadata or something. I'm not sure. I have the client ID, the secret, the password, and the username stored as environment variables, but you can just put it in plain text if you want. I'm hiding it so that nobody can use my credentials, but it's pretty much just a string that represents the client ID, secret, and so on. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to call the reddit.subreddit function, which allows us to input in a subreddit and then fetch whatever posts we want from it. In this case, what this line is doing is I'm fetching the most recent post on a given subreddit. So this could be changed and it could return 5 or so posts, but we're just going to leave it as 1 for now. It's going to be fetching the most recent post from the inputted subreddit, and then we're going to use the submission. So let's work on making this function now. Here's the function. It's pretty simple. I'm just going to accept a model, a prompt, and then a submission. So this submission is going to be some Reddit post, and it's going to be the most recent post for whatever subreddit we gave it. We're just going to get the title and the text from the post. So we're using submission.title and self-text, saving that to variables so that we can use it later. And then I scaffolded out some code. So if the user has not commented on the submission yet, let's print the title, let's create a comment, and then let's reply with the comment on the submission. So we're going to be working on these different functions next. But what this basically does is once we verified that we want to comment on the submission, we're just going to create a comment and then we're going to post a comment. It's pretty simple. Now I have the has not commented function written out here. What it does is it takes in a submission and it fetches the comments for the submission. And for each comment in the list of comments, we're going to check to see if the author matches our Reddit username. If it does, we're going to return false. Otherwise, we're going to return true. And what this does is if your bot has already commented on the post, then don't post it because we don't want to spam the post. And if you decide you want to run this on some sort of interval or run it repeatedly, this just makes sure it doesn't comment on the same post more than once. So now I've created the create comment function and I've imported Ollama. And I forgot to mention it earlier, but for both Ollama and Pra, you're going to need to do a pip install so that you can install the Python packages for it. The Ollama Python package is different from the one that we installed on our computer because this is an interface for Python to talk to our local Ollama instance. This create comment function accepts a model, a prompt, a title, and text. First, we generate content. So we're going to take in the prompt that we got from the user, and we're going to take in the title of the Reddit post and the text in the Reddit post. And then we're going to call ollama.chat with the model that we specified in the command line arguments. And then we're going to create a messages array, which only consists of a single message from the user, aka us, telling the assistant, here, this is the chat. So this would be the equivalent of if I did Ollama run llama2 uncensored. So llama2 uncensored is the model over here. And then I said, hey, what's 1 plus 1? Hey, what's 1 plus 1 would be the content because we are the user. And then 2 would be the response back. In this case, we're adding a little more context to it. So it's going to be the custom prompt, the title of the Reddit post, and the text. And it's going to return whatever the LLM decides is the response. Now that our script is done, we can actually start using it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on to r/relationship advice. And what I want to do is for whatever the newest post is, somebody's posting about some trouble in their relationship. Let's try to use our bot to give them some good advice. To do this, let's start off by figuring out how we're going to call the script. So we're going to do Python with the file name. So in my case, it's main.py. We're going to be using llama2 uncensored. So this is the model that's going to be used right over here. The subreddit that we're going to be fetching the stories for is relationship underscore advice. And now we have to come up with a prompt. So this is the hardest part. We have to come up with a good prompt so that we get a good response. So relationship advice is filled with people in relationships who need advice. So let's tell them that. Let's say the author of this post described with a title and text. And the reason I'm saying that is because the title and text are going to be under this prompt. So I just wanted to let the LLM know what to look for. The author of this post described with the title and text is having difficulties in their relationship. Your goal is to read the post and offer sincere advice so that the author can be satisfied. And this prompt may need some modification, it may need something else or something or other, but this will be a good base start. So now that we have all of the command line arguments we need, we can finally run it. So now this is commented on fear of commitment, how to reassure her. So let's see what our bot posted. I'm gonna hit refresh to get the latest post. Fear of commitment, how to reassure her. Seems like your girlfriend is facing some issues, blah, blah, blah. First, I recommend you take her concerns seriously, being patient, proactive, seeking professional help. We did it. So now you know how to create your own bot that you can post onto Reddit with and submit automatically generated responses. Thanks for watching. There will be some links in the description. Please check it out. There will be a link to GitHub so that you can get the script without having to code it all up. And see you next time.